Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. Trigger warning. This video is going to be about Paul Bernardo and his ex-wife Karla Homolka. They were both two of the vilest, most horrific, disgusting serial rapists and killers of almost all time, I would say. As far as a duo goes, a couple, yes, of course, there are more duos, couples who have done this, but they were one of the most vile in history. And the fact that Paul has been denied parole after 25 years in prison, it blows my mind that he even applied for parole or a day parole. That shocks me that he even was able to apply for it because, they killed 3 people. He tortured and raped many, many more. And he tortured and raped the 3 that he killed. And there's possibly more that he killed. So the fact that he is actually applying for parole is just really scary. And to think that he made it in front of a judge terrifies me so much. Now, as we know, Karla is not even in prison. They did the whole plea deal with her, basically making a deal with the devil to arrest the devil. But they let the devil's wife go to get him. But then after they got him and he's in jail, they find the videotapes at his house. But guess what? At this point, no matter what is on those videotapes, they've already made a deal with her. So what do they find when they watch those tapes? They find out that she was involved as much as he was. She raped and tortured just as he did. And there was no battered wife who was scared and shaking and forced into raping these girls. She was smiling ear to ear and doing just as much as he was to these minors, these children, these victims. So by the time police, have gotten the tapes that Bernardo's lawyer had, Karla's already made a damn deal. And she's scot-free. After she serves a few years, she's done. What does she do? She takes off to Quebec. Because Quebec didn't hear a lot of the media coverage on these rapes, tortures, and murders. So she hauls ass there. But then a few people, I'm making spaghetti. A few people find out that she is in that area and they flip out. And they alert everyone. I can't blame them. She helped Paul Bernardo to rape and kill her little sister. She actually administered the drug that killed her little sister, Tammy Homolka. And it's really scary to get Paul. They allowed Karla to go, to be free. And she remains on the streets, living her life to the fullest, as she has for years now. A lot of people say, oh, well, she may have changed, she may have done this, she may have done that. I'm going to tell you right now, that's something that I would not have even took a chance on. If you don't know already, once you find out what she did, it terrifies you to know that she has been on our streets around anyone. It is honestly terrifying to know that police basically, like I said, make a deal with the devil to get the devil locked up, and they allow the devil's wife, who's almost as worse, to go, who's just as bad, who handed her little sister, her little teenage sister, up on a silver platter to her boyfriend to be tortured and raped and drugged for their sexual satisfaction. And once they move in together, they really start leaving a trail of blood behind. But police, are going to let her go just so they can get him. Well, check this out. Paul Bernardo, as I said before, has went up for a parole hearing after 25 years in prison. How shitty is that? How scary is that? What if all of a sudden, by some chance, he was able to get a free day just to roam around? Yeah, he might be, 56 years old, He was 54 when this was done. That was 2018. So he's what, 59 now? Still able to kill people, able to influence others to do bad things. I mean, it's terrifying. Age, when it comes to killers, age doesn't matter. We've seen people in their 70s and 80s kill other people. So here's the article. Paul Bernardo. I cry all the time. Bernardo denied parole after 25 years in prison. Being me in prison is hard. Now y'all remember, this is the same man who was Mr. Big Shot, Mr. Braggy Ass, who would, thought his shit didn't stink. And he thought he had all this money even though he was in debt up to his eyeballs. And his wife worked and he barely could smuggle cigarettes back and forth from Canada to other places. And, stole from the women he raped and stole from other people. He was Mr. Big Shot though, right? This the same man who, while he was torturing and raping his victims, he would make them tell him what a big ding-dong he had and how he was this big shot, powerful man, and all the girls wanted him, because that's what he forced them to do so he could keep an erection. This big shot, he could not keep an erection unless his victims or his wife would be telling him what a big man he was and what a big, penis he had and how he made all this money because he was so powerful and how us little old women just can't do anything without him. That's the kind of big shot he was, right? One of those big johns that they have to be gloated on. Like everybody has to praise them. All this fake stuff that they don't do. All this, they want to be big-headed. They want you to swell their head up real big and make them, brag on them and stuff, showboat, because they love to be bragged on. He wanted girls and women to make him feel like he was like a big shot god up on this pedestal, and he wasn't scared of anyone. It's funny how the big falls so hard because by the time they put his ass in prison, he was crying. Because after he raped and tortured all those people, I can about guarantee you he got it back. Maybe not in the way that he put it out there, but he got some of it back. Hey, good riddance, buddy, because after what he did, I have no sympathy for him. Or Karla. And the fact that Karla was released after all this, it's just, again, it blows my mind. It's so shocking. And I've known about this for years. But it still irks my nerves to know that she's out here roaming around because she was a killer. She didn't just help him kill. She's the one who actually killed her little sister. She administered the drug that killed her little sister. She was the one administering the drugs for the other victims. She, even though he strangled the other ones, she was the one who lured these girls in. By asking for directions, going to the mall, pretending to be this young, girl, mall rat type girl and like want to interact with them and stuff, trying to make them feel comfortable. And then, of course, Paul would grab them. And she'd go in the bedroom while he was doing these things to them and interact too, as she wanted. They'd beg her to let them go, and she would not. She ignored their cries. Paul left the house a couple of different times, with separate girls. And Karla didn't let him go. She would say, oh, well, he would beat me too if I let you go. But then she leaves him anyways. But you know why? Not because he's raping and killing all these underage girls, these children. She leaves him because he blacks both her eyes with a flashlight. She doesn't want her appearance messed up because she's Miss Barbie doll, Miss Pretty Pants. That's what makes me so mad with this whole case is Karla tried to play that battered wife syndrome. She tried to play it out. And it worked with police, but it didn't work with us. But it only worked with police up until they found the videotapes. And then once police found the videotapes, they were like, oh my gosh, we got fooled. We got fooled. We got hoodwinked. Because she was doing just as much as he was. She's just as dangerous as he is. And she played us. Because Karla did. She knew what she was doing. Again, though, the only reason Karla left Paul was because he beat her. that last time so bad. Not because he, groomed her little sister, groomed other friends of hers who were underage. She didn't leave because he had tortured, raped, kidnapped other little girls. She didn't leave because of that. She left because he beat her. Because he had run out of money. And she figured, well, if I got to live like this, I might as well just be alone. I might as well just be single. If I got to struggle like this, and I might as well just be... Why didn't you feel that way when he had a victim in the house? Why didn't you feel that way when he was broke and doing that to your little sister? Because he didn't have no money when he did that to her sister. He was living off her family. Living with her family when he killed her little sister, Tammy. That's what's so disgusting, is she allowed all this. Karla is like the ultimate evil who managed to get away with murder. In front of all the police, in front of everyone involved, she got away with murder. Yeah, she pulled a few years, but she didn't pull life like he is. Who's to say that she hasn't gotten with someone else and done the same thing? Who's to say that she hasn't raped and tortured by herself? Who's to say that she hasn't went and worked at an old folks home and got that taste to kill again and started killing older folks? We don't know, because police allowed her to be at a prison. And we find it a lot of times that police and detectives will feel bad for women. And what they don't seem to understand is women can be just as evil as men. Women can be just as seductive, especially because a woman can lure you in a lot faster than a man can. A woman has a way of, even with children, most children will go with a woman before they will a man because they don't feel as afraid. They don't feel that fear. And Karla got away with murder. Karla has spent her life living to the fullest while he's rotting in jail. I'm not going to say rotting because he does have food, water, shelter, clothing, TV. He gets to write letters, things like that. So he still doesn't have it as bad as his victims do and did and their families, and that sucks. It really sucks when somebody has torn families apart and killed people and now they're taken care of by the government. That sucks. Of course, I got sidetracked from the article. My ADHD is screaming today. Okay. Being me in prison is hard. Bernardo has spent more than 25 years of his life sentence behind bars for kidnapping, torturing, and killing 2 teenage girls in the early 1990s. It was actually 3, if you consider Tammy Homolka, Karla's sister. Technically, Karla gave her the medicine that killed her. She choked on her vomit while she was drugged. But he was the one who raped and tortured her on camera with Karla, so they both killed Tammy. Torturing and killing 2 teenage girls in the early 1990s. Okay. Bath, Ontario, as he made his first pitch for parole after 25 years in prison for some of the most horrific crimes in Canadian history, Paul Bernardo was eager, agreeable, strangely docile, and unfocused. He claimed to have discovered and confronted the psychological reasons for his sadistic sexual atrocities, including a series of rapes and the murders of 2 teenage girls. He said they stemmed from low self-esteem. Interesting. He said they stem from low self-esteem, misguided coping mechanisms, and cognitive distortions, effects of stress and alcohol. Okay, Paul, you're full of shit at this point, but okay, it's your lie, tell it how you want it. At the time of my crimes, I was everything they said I was. It hurts because I did horrible things. Bruh, I don't even think you can use horrible for what you did. I don't even know that there's a word to describe what you did to those girls and their families and to society in general. I really don't think horrible covers it. Yeah, I just don't think the word horrible covers what he did to those girls and their families. slouching in a chair at Ontario's Millhaven Institution before two parole board of Canada members, wearing a blue crew neck t-shirt over a slight paunch with unkempt light brown hair. His voice was soft and breathy, with an occasional slight repetitive stutter. No, this is Mr. Big Shot Bernardo. Remember he used to rap? He was going to be a big rapist. What was his name? I said rapist. Rapper? Man, I'm telling you, that's exactly what it was, though. He was a rapist. His name was, Big Hype. What do he call himself? Big Hype. Sir Hype a Lot. Weren't it, Hype Up a Lot? Mr. Hype. Big Hype. I'll have to Google it. I can't remember, but I know it was something hype. Sir Hype a Lot. Some dumb shit is what it was, because the man could not rap for shit. I'll play some of that in a minute when we get done reading. He could not rap for shit. He made a spare bedroom in his house for his recording sessions, because he was going to be a big rapper. That's what he told his wife's family. That's what he told his wife, and that's what he spent a lot of their money on, was his rap career. Sir Hype a Lot. Full of shit. Paul Bernardo, 54, was quick to answer questions and spoke at length, but strayed from the main topics, which focused on his life in prison and his efforts at rehabilitation. Of course, because he ain't trying to rehabilitate. He's trying to make up a story to get his ass out of prison so he can go back doing what he did, because he craved, even back then, he craved to torture and rape women, young girls. So after 25 years in prison, he is craving it more than ever because he ain't had one. His answers were thick with psychological jargon focused on general behavioral patterns and theories rather than the extreme specific details of his inner life and his view of his crimes. Of course, he's sitting there trying to give out, well, here's why I did it. I've read a lot of books since I've been in prison, so ... here's why I did it. I don't want to talk about how I've lived in prison and how I've changed, but here's why I think I did it. No, this is why I know I did it, because I read all these books and now I'm a psychiatrist. I'm a psychologist. I can tell you why I did those things. Paul Bernardo's so full of crap. It's a ploy. He's trying to hoodwink police the way Karla did. Like, oh, I'm better now. I'm good now. I won't hurt anybody else. Just let me out of these doors, and I won't hurt nobody else. Bullcrap. The lead board member, Suzanne Poirier, suggested his understanding of himself seemed a bit academic. He was not obviously evasive, but his answers rarely seemed to satisfy the question. Strangely, he often nodded along with the questions, almost encouragingly. That's what people do. If you ever took psychology, you know how this works. When, just say a narcissist, for example, okay? When you're talking with a narcissist, sometimes they'll repeat back the question or the statement, and sometimes they'll twist it to make you feel like you either didn't say it or that you did say it, but you added something to it. Like the arguments me and my ex used to have. He would twist things to make me feel like I was crazy. Like he would leave the headlights on the car on. He'd forget to cut them off, run the battery dead. The next morning, he would get up and blame me for it, even though I didn't drive the car. It was his car. He would say, well, you went out there and did this or did that. I'm like, I did not touch your car. I don't have your car keys. Well, you left them in there when you got the groceries out. I've not been in your car. Yes, you were. Why would you do that on purpose? Remember, I sent you to get me a pack of cigarettes out of my glove box. So I would start thinking, did I have to have his keys to unlock the car? Did I leave his keys in the car? The door? And I would begin to think, wait a minute, am I losing it? Did I actually do that? But no, I hadn't even been in his car. I hadn't touched his car. I hadn't even been to get groceries. I hadn't got him no cigarettes. I hadn't been nowhere near his car. It was just a ploy on how he twisted things up to make me feel like I did it when he actually did it. And that's what Paul's doing when they ask him a question. Before they can even finish the question, he's doing this, trying to make them think that he's paying attention. He's focusing on what they're saying. He's learned from these psychology books how to trick people, how to make them feel pleased with what he's saying. Basically how to make them feel comfortable and encouraged by what he's saying. So he seems smart. He seems sincere. He seems sympathetic, for what he did. Luckily, it didn't work and he didn't get out. Imagine if it did and he did get out. Oh my gosh. Do you know the media would have blown up? The media would have blown up if Paul Bernardo got out of... It's bad enough that Karla didn't get the time she deserved, but if Paul had gotten out, y'all would have seen some shit go on. I'm sorry I'm not as organized as a lot of other YouTubers with their stories about serial killers and stuff like that, but I'm trying to be myself. And I'm not the most organized person. I would love to read y'all, like, beginning to end of Paul Bernardo's life, but I feel like a lot of other YouTubers have already done that, and that's great, because I love hearing those videos too, and they're very informative, but I feel like I want to give my version and my thoughts, but if you do want me to do a video of, like, say, Paul Bernardo's history, the whole timeline, I'll do it. It's fine. I mean, it ain't going to be perfect like, a lot of other YouTubers. Like, one channel I'll tell you that is great to go watch is Stephanie Harlow. She is amazing. She can give you beginning to end in perfect detail. She's great. I love watching her videos. Or the channel that does, like, Human Monsters, he does a magnificent job with the storytelling. But me, I'm not great at it, so I just do the best I can do and give my opinion. Okay, so Paul says, sex is a very small part of my life now. Back then, it was a very big part. So basically, Paul is saying, well, I only did those murders back then because I was sexually driven to do those, and drugs and alcohol, blah, blah, blah. But now I don't have sex, so you wouldn't have to worry about me trying to have sex with nobody, so please give me the key and let me out. Please just give me the key and let me get out of here. I can about promise you. Now, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a therapist. But I can about guarantee you a reoffender, a repeat offender, is going to reoffend. He's going to repeat the cycle the first chance he gets. Especially if he thinks he isn't going to get caught. Even if they put 24-hour surveillance on Paul Bernardo, he would find a way to do these things to someone. Or he would disappear. So they can't take a chance by letting him out, because he will mess up and he will reoffend. Even if they cut his ding-dong off, he would use his hand, he would use a bottle, he would find something to sodomize or hurt someone with. He would use his mouth. He would do whatever he could do to make it happen, because he is a sex offender. He is a PEDO file. He will do those. He's a predator. And a very, very dangerous predator. For the parole board, the question of whether to let Bernardo out of prison comes down to one simple consideration. Why the hell are they even considering this? Well, his crimes are almost 30 years old. Let's give him a shot. Well, let's not give him that kind of shot. You get what I'm saying? Listen, y'all, please don't delete my channel for that comment, but hey, do you think he gave his victims any sympathy? No. Go listen to the videotapes. Go listen to his confession. Go listen to Human Monsters. Go to YouTube and type in Paul Bernardo Human Monsters and listen to what he did to his victims. What he and Karla did to his victims. There was no sympathy. There was laughter. There was evil, rage, violence to children and women. He didn't have any sympathy for them. So why should they have sympathy for him now? Why is he even getting a shot to apply? I'm telling you, if they ever let that monster out, they're going to regret it. And they had crappy police work back then. That's why they couldn't catch him. It ain't because he ran so far away or anything. He was right under their nose. They had a sample of his DNA the whole time. Y'all, police had a sample of Paul Bernardo's DNA the whole time. I'm going to have to do this story one day so you can just hear how messed up this whole story is. Very, very horrible. For a parole board, the question of whether to let Bernardo out of prison comes down to one simple consideration: whether he presents an undue risk to society. No shit, Sherlock, you think? He's known as one of Canadians' most dangerous serial killers. Do we really have to ask ourselves that question? Does he produce a risk to society? Really, you think? He is known, he has went down in history as Canada's most dangerous sadistic serial killer. But we're going to have to ask ourselves, will he produce a risk to society? Are you serious? I'm gonna tell you what, y'all. Yeah, if y'all let him out, if Canada lets him out, they better keep him over there. We got enough trouble over here. I have to stir my hamburger meat, y'all. Sorry. I wanted some spaghetti. I told you my videos were all over the place. I am not organized like everybody else. I'm always in the middle of doing something when I make a video. Oh well, that's life, right? That's just how it is. Stir that stuff up. Stir that good stuff up. Sketty. And then after I make spaghetti, tomorrow night I'm going to make spaghetti bake. Yeah, it's like that. Okay. Let's get back to the story. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm all the time doing something. I got to get better at this. I promise I will. But I love being myself too. Oh my gosh, quit ranting. Just stop it. Comes down to one simple consideration: whether he presents an undue risk to society. After a day-long hearing at which the mothers of his murder victims, Leslie Mahaffey and Kristen French, and one rape victim gave impassionate statements, the board's decision was exactly what was widely expected, not just because first-time applicants usually fail, but because there has hardly ever been an applicant as notorious as this. Bernardo's request for day or full parole was denied after the briefest of deliberations. I really hope that they're not trying to give him a day parole either. What if he escapes? If they was to give him a day parole, holy crap. Letting him go, even though by law he will be subject to correctional supervision for the remainder of his life, would be unduly risky, the board found. He can be considered again in 2 years. He has been eligible to apply for day parole since 2015, for full parole since his minimum 25-year incarceration expired this year. Y'all, that's scary. That's terrifying and that's scary. Since 2015, he's been eligible for day parole. Canada and the USA better start changing their laws. They better quit giving these damn rapists a chance to get out and escape, and a chance to get out and hurt people. This is why they reoffend. This is how prisoners get missing, and how these, they killed 30 years ago. Give them a shot. Let's give them a day. No, put their ass back in there and keep them where you had them. I don't want them out here around my family. No. Get mad at me if y'all want to. Come for me in the comments. I don't give a shit. Until you read about Paul Bernardo, don't make a judgment. This man, what if that was your daughter, your mama, your sister, your girlfriend? If you only knew what he made his victims do, you wouldn't be sitting here saying, well, he did that 30 years ago. He wouldn't. I just don't think he would do that again. He's known as Canada's most notorious serial killer for a reason. He claimed to have empathy for his victims now, but at the time of his crimes in the late 80s and early 90s, when he was in his 20s, he was more concerned about his own distress and his thought that exerting control over victims would restore his self-esteem. Bullshit. He was just a freaking sex maniac, fueled, controlling predator pedophile. That's what he was. He said he did not enjoy his crimes for the thrill of the hunt or being aroused by inflicting pain, but rather used his attacks to feel better about himself, to ease his pain rather than increase his pleasure. Bullshit. Bullshit. Because there's videotape of him hitting and thrusting, and her screaming, and his dick getting erect. There's video, and Karla even testified that even when she was dating him, when he wrapped a cord around her neck and almost choked her to death, he got erect. When he hit her, his penis got harder. So he is full of malarkey in this parole meeting. Full of it. And I hope all of you can see that. Really, really hope everybody in that parole board meeting from here on can see that. What they need to do, what they honestly need to do, is every time he goes up there, every time he goes up for a parole hearing, play back the trial and let the parole board hear what he did to his victims. That's what they should do. They should have the whole parole board just listen to what he did to his own family and what he did to his own sister-in-law when she was 14 years old, 15 years old and younger, how he peeked through her window and sniffed her underwear, and how he masturbated on her pillow before him and his wife killed her. I mean, that's what they should be talking about. Let me get my pot filled up. Could you imagine if this sex-crazed pedophile rapist was able to get out on day parole or even parole? Could you imagine how much of an uproar the town, the nation would be in? The whole damn nation, the whole country, every country would be like, no, put his ass back in the cage. We don't want him. I know we damn sure don't want him. We got enough evil, crazy criminals over here raping and killing people. We don't need no more. So he says, I didn't consider their emotions as much as obviously I should have. He is such an egotistical butthole. He is such a butt munch. Like, he really is a freaking, what is it called? Oh, gosh. Not just a bully. Misogynistic pig. He thinks women are beneath him. He thinks that even other men are beneath him. When he was raping his victims, these little girls who were still in school, you know, they would kidnap them once they were coming out of the schoolhouse. And when he would get them back to his house, he would make these little girls tell him about their boyfriend, and he would rape them. And while he raped them, he would make them say, tell me you hate your boyfriend. Tell me your boyfriend, you know, has never effed you like this. Tell me your boyfriend doesn't have a big thing. Tell me my you know, DICK is bigger. You know, he had to be blowed up so much by his victims that he to keep an erect penis, he would punch him in the back, punch him in the face. You know, he punched the one girl so hard that he literally cut her lip open. He punched the other girl, blacking her eyes. He messed Karla up too. When Karla left him, he beat her really bad that day. She left him, and then she went back to him that evening because she claimed that he threatened to tell on her. So she left him again that next day or whatever when her parents got to her, and he had like hit her with a flashlight between her eyes, and she said that that was like the last straw for her. It wasn't the killing of the girls or nothing. It was because he hit her, you know, harder than usual. That was why she left. But he wanted these victims. What is that? Oh, I thought I seen something. He wanted his victims to blow his ego up and build his ego up so big because that's how he got his kicks. That's how he got his rocks off. Was putting them in pain, slapping, punching, choking, forcing them down on their hands and knees, forcing them their heads on his genital area. He got his rocks off from inflicting pain upon his victims. So now for him to sit here and say, well, I didn't do it for the pain. I didn't do it, you know, I didn't enjoy the crime. Even though he wrote a song talking about how he'd never get caught. You know what I'm saying? He's such a liar. He's lying, totally lying now. And how he didn't do it for the thrill of the hunt or being aroused by inflicting pain. But rather, he used his attacks to feel better about himself and to ease his pain rather than increase his pleasure. That is such bullshit. And it pisses me off that he even got a chance to say this crap. to a parole board. There are so many people who are actually innocent sitting in prison right now who deserve a parole hearing and can't get one. But we're letting Paul Bernardo get a fucking parole hearing? There are people who have had DNA testing and it's been proven that they were not on a crime scene. And they can't even get a parole hearing. But Paul fucking Bernardo can get a parole hearing? What world are we living in, guys? Really? Why have we let our laws become what they are? We should take our laws back and start changing them. It's ridiculous. So she says, Mr. Bernardo, please. She then described the Scarboro rapes for which he was convicted in, where young women were grabbed at bus stops and raped in the bushes. But Bernardo stuck to his story that he did not set out to inflict pain. Even though he would ask them, did it hurt? And they would say yes, and he would laugh and get an erection. But if they didn't do what I wanted them to do, then I punished them. This was to ease my own pain, with a disregard for theirs. This is why he claims he's not actually a sexual sadist, as he has been labeled. Paul, do you actually know what a sexual sadist is, buddy? Because I think you don't know what it is. Because you are one. You are one. They should have tattooed it on your forehead, along with some other choice words. Disgusting pig. The self-awareness. Well, he said his problems with self-esteem are better now and that he allows himself to be vulnerable. I'm a very flawed person, so please let me out of prison. I'm very flawed. Please let me out. Fuck off. Hell no, bitch. You ain't getting out? No. And if they let you out, then we putting cameras on you. We ain't letting you roam the streets like you used to, buddy. That would never happen. If I ever found out that Paul Bernardo got out of prison, I would find CCTV, GoPros, our 360, whatever we got to get, and we following him. The self-awareness of Paul Bernardo was not a terribly compelling story. Shockingly, he identified his failure to save the life of Tammy Homolka. He was a lifeguard, after all. As a key moment in the escalation of his behavior for the guilt it caused him, he said it led to 2 suicide attempts. So now he wants us to feel sympathy because he almost, hurt himself. He almost took his own life after taking 3 other lives. But now we're supposed to give him sympathy because he's changed. He's changed, right? Because now he's older. And now it's not about sex anymore, guys. I've changed. Let me out of here. I've changed. I'm a new man. I'm not even like that no more. Please let me out. Bull crap. Bernardo was convicted of manslaughter in Tammy's death. That's horrible. The fact that he and Karla both got away with her sister's murder. We're going to talk about her sister Tammy's murder. And I'm going to tell you guys just how horrible it really was. This was not some accident. Do not let the media, and I'm not saying the media is claiming that, but I'm saying don't let the media and don't let anybody else's videos or anyone, Paul Bernardo, ever tell you that this was an accident. Don't let Karla Homolka, Tammy's sister, tell you this was an accident, because it was not. That is not an accident. An accident is walking. This is an accident, okay? This is what an accident is. Falling down. That's an accident. Here's another one. Dropping a drink on somebody's shirt by accident. That's an accident. Me scratching my face and accidentally cutting it. That's an accident. Drugging, severely drugging your 13, 14 little sister-in-law's body, and then taking all her clothes off, grabbing your video camera, her sister holding the video camera, and both of you raping her. He took her virginity. He raped her vaginally, orally, anally. He had Karla rape her orally with her hand, with a wine bottle. He had Karla give her more of the drug through cloth of breathing it and by administering it in her drink. They put it in her alcoholic drink countless times. They poured. Now, this was a drug that Karla got from a vet clinic. because she worked at a vet's office. So she would order the drugs that were made for like surgeries for animals. And that's what she gave her sister. She gave it to her in her drink several times, in alcohol, mind you. They were giving a minor alcohol. They would drug her alcoholic beverage. After they drugged her beverage, she had several drinks. She passed out, and then they pour it down her throat. They put it on a cloth so she can breathe it in. And then they claimed we didn't know it would make her sick. Now, Karla worked in a vet's office. Karla knew how to administer these drugs. Karla wasn't dumb by any means, and neither was Paul. Karla especially, had a lot of book smarts. Now this is me alleging this, but we all do know that this is fact. Paul was obsessed with Tammy. Tammy was Karla's little sister, who was a virgin. Now, it is a known fact that Paul was mad that Karla wasn't a virgin the first time they had sex. But Tammy was a virgin. And Paul told Karla over and over and over, you owe me, because you weren't a virgin.